Every day around the country, dairy cows are up in the wee hours, making their way to the milking shed, then heading back to the paddock to graze. Most of them do it all over again in the afternoon. It may seem like just a simple stroll to have their full udders emptied and a tasty snack, but there's more going on in that line of cows than you might think. What exactly goes on and the problems it can cause has been pretty much a life study for one Taranaki vet.
So we'll go in this way.
Waiting for the cows to arrive?
I heard somewhere a motorbike, so he must be here not too far away.
Neil Chesterton is an expert in lameness in dairy cows, and he knows a lot about how cows behave. I'm with him at milking time on Bryce Hunger's dairy farm near Inglewood.
Hi, Bryce.
How are you?
G'day, thanks for letting us come and interrupt your whole bit.
I'm
This is
Sally.
How you doing, Bryce?
Yeah. So Bryce will be on this side over here, and cows come round in a circle on his rotary. How many bales?
50.
50 bale rotary. Just one person putting cups on?
Yep, I'll be milking.
Yep.
So the cows are coming in now, so...
Yep. So we'll watch them come in, yeah. But the reason I enjoyed coming to Bryce's farm is he's had lameness in the past, but he asks questions and thinks about things, and he's changed his whole system so much, not just thinking of lame feet, but doing everything else. That I have very few farms that are so looking at the welfare of the cows, and Bryce's wonderful farm to come to, yeah.
Neil took up his first vet job in Inglewood 50 years ago. Over the years, he's met many dairy farmers who were desperate. They hated seeing lame cows struggling along the tracks to the milking shed. It wasn't uncommon to have a third of a herd go lame in a season. So he decided to find out why cows were getting lame in the first place. And that led to years of watching, listening, filming and collecting data. He didn't just want to be that cow ambulance at the bottom of the cliff. Back to Bryce and how to do things right.
And cow flow is probably most important in the cow shed,
Yeah.
I feel like.
Yeah. The tracks aren't too long. How far are they to the back? 'Cause the length of the track's an important thing.
Yeah, about a K.
About how long?
A K,
1
kilometre.
K, yeah. See, I was at a farm just the other day, 2.5 K, and more than double the length. And I found out that much above 1.5 starts to be one of the factors. Many things can damage the feet, and one is the distance they walk. And so your 1 K is quite short, central shed, and that's where it's. So he's spoiled, you see. He thinks he's doing good, but he's got a farm that's well designed. So my next question, if I was going to ask Bryce, are the cows coming voluntarily or someone coming behind them?
They're just coming in on their own at the moment.
See, and
Someone will go out and just bring the rest of them.
Whereas I go to so many places where someone goes and gets the cows and then follows them and pushes them to come faster because look at my watch, I want to get.
Yeah.
Whereas here they come just voluntarily, so there's no pressure on their feet. Even if the track wasn't perfect, they can go around things. Where if there's pressure, they skid on the damaged surface. Because with the rain we get here, it's not a perfect track, Bryce.
No.
Because the surface gets washed off, but there's no pressure on them. And then no pressure in the yard. You know, straight away you've got two things.
They're coming in.
Yeah.
So Nigel's gonna...
Okay. G'day, Nigel.
This looks serious, doesn't it?
Nigel's the father. So if Bryce is good, or father-in-law, hey, you listen to your father-in-law, don't you, Bryce?
Nigel's on the quad bike. He's off to get the cows, is he, Bryce?
He's had years of experience milking cows long before Bryce was really thinking about it, so...
Yeah, they're going back there.
So I think you've got some setting up to do, have you?
Yep, I'll carry on.
Okay, can we just...
In lush and fertile Taranaki, cows are queen. But ever wondered what's going on as they make the daily or twice daily trek to the milking shed? For a start, their heads are often low to the ground. They're checking where they place their feet, because a cow's hooves, made up of 2 claws, are delicately sized compared to the weight they carry. Neil found, after all those years around dairy cows, that the 2 biggest risk factors for lameness were poor tracks and impatient farmers. He says Bryce's tracks are made of stuff called stock rock, which is easy on the cow's hooves.
Right up to his concrete, at the entrance and exit, there's stock rock. So the cows come from the stock rock part track onto concrete and then into the yard and shed. When they go out, they go onto concrete and then back onto the stock rock again. And that's often the key place where, or one of the many places that just damages feet, close to the cow shed, where the pressure is on the cows.
The jostling of the
jostling,
animals.
yeah. And so having this surface, so as you see those cows coming in now, I'll just close that gate. See, so Bryce's cows are coming in now, and look, they're just a single row. There's no pressure on them. They can choose, even if the track was too narrow. His tracks are about 8 metres, which is good, for a herd of, I think he's 500 cows, something like that. But they're coming in single file at their own pace, slowly, because the gate's probably opened 3/4 of an hour ago or something. Just let them out the paddock.
So they can come in at their own speed?
They can, yeah, the gate opens automatically. It's got a bat latch, and they can come in at their own speeds. And his father's just going out to check the paddock. There's none that haven't come, and just follow them quietly.
And of course, we, being strangers to the normal milking hour, I suppose you could say.
Yes.
Does this put pressure on the cows and
Well,
can
you look at
interrupt their flow?
They were all flowing normally and no worry at all. Then we're moving towards them. So what are they doing? They're going to stop and say, who are these people? Who are these strangers?
And is it important in the cow shed to have that sort of regularity of people around?
It is, yeah. And so vets like myself and that come and spoil cow flow, not improve it when I come to look at a problem. Often if I'm investigating a problem, I'll park in my car or get on a motorbike, and they don't mind a person on a motorbike, but us two standing here on the side track, they all want to say, wonder who those people are. And so if you're not in overalls looking like a farmer, they know there's something strange about you. And you've got to look like a farmer. Yeah.
Do you find that there is a lot of pressure to get milking over and done with?
Yeah, farmers, they've got so many jobs to do, and milking takes that hour and a half or 2 hours depending on the size of the herd, some a bit longer if you've got big herds. But now they're starting to move again, and I think they'll get in there on time.
What sort of damage to productivity can lameness do? I mean, obviously it's not good for the well-being of the cow, but what about milk production?
Depending on how long the lameness is, how quick the farmer gets help, it can be dramatic, drop in production. So it's hard to put a figure on that, because early in the season it's the worst. Because what happens early in the season, it knocks their production, but then it never really gets up again later.
Even when they've
come right, yeah. And so early in the season, it's the most drop and the least recovery. When they're out in pasture, they lie down, they don't get to the grass. They lose weight, dramatic loss of weight. So they haven't got the energy to make milk.
Early on, Neil realised New Zealand's cow lameness issues were quite different from the Northern Hemisphere's, where cows generally live in barns. New Zealand cows are walking cows.
On some farms here, we've had probably a third of the cows get lame in the whole year. So if you had 100 cows, 30 got lame. I'm not talking about just foot rot infection, I'm talking about damage to the feet. Overseas, honestly, some people have got 20% today, every day. It's so serious overseas, but it's a different type of lameness. Theirs is a standing on concrete. They have a thing, for example, they moan one called solar ulcer. They get this ulcer from standing on hard ground. It's a horrible thing overseas. I see 1 out of every 100 lame cows has a solar ulcer, hardly any. And so we're complaining about lameness, even though it's so much less, but farmers get used to it and think, oh, well, to only have 10% of my cows lame at a time, that's not bad. I say, but you add that up over a year, it's a lot of cows, and those particular 10% drop in their production, and they're more likely to get lame next year.
What are some of the worst cases you've seen of lameness?
I won't say where the story was from, but I went to a farm where they had an older cow herd and a young cow herd, The young cow herd came into the rotary shed, got milked and went back to their paddocks. The older cows, who had taken 2.5 hours to come from their paddock, which was 2.5 kilometres away, every cow lay down on the exit after being milked, and they wouldn't go back to the paddock. That was the worst one I've ever seen. And it wasn't because they were a bad farmer. The poor girl who was the manager for 3 farms had just got overwhelmed with her work and hadn't realised what was going on. They'd walked 10 kilometres a day for the last 5 days.
They were exhausted.
They were exhausted, and the feet were so thin and worn out they just didn't want to walk on what is a nice track.
So presumably a lot of your advice is around handling of the cows.
Exactly. Handling on the track, include the distance they walk, but the way you handle them. And also, I used to think that was the only one. I spent all my time at the beginning, before I knew all this stuff, or learnt all this stuff, just looking at the track. But then I started to see things happening in the milking yard, where people with having backing gates that put too much pressure, or too many cows in the yard, or people going out and getting angry because it's not good cow flow. And or really, I got some farms where that's the main part. The track's nothing, it's in the yard.
The last few cows have ambled in and Nigel is here bringing up the rear.
So he's come to the yard and he's stopped, just let them go in at their own pace, not forcing them into the yard. And he's going to open the gate for these other ones to let them go. So we'll sneak past. Can we cut past? Can we just sneak past before they come? Yep. Sounds like they're having some trees cut down over there, that noise in the background.
What would be the perfect cow hand in your view, the perfect kind of temperament for somebody whose job it is to bring in the cows?
Right. The few things I've learnt, and I've learnt all this from farmers and doing little experiments myself. The first thing is talk to the cows. To get angry with cows makes them afraid of people. Just talk to them. When you let them out the paddock, if you're going to follow them home, because some people have automatic gate openers like we have today at this farm, but most people don't. They go and open the gate, let the cows out, and I say to farmers, don't push the cows, keep behind them, talk to them, and whistle or do something. And one farmer said to me one day, he was a perfect farmer. He had 300 cows and he had very low lameness. That's why I was doing research on his farm, low lameness. And what I noticed is he let the cows out the paddock, drove up behind them, switched off his motorbike and smoked a cigarette. I'm not saying he must smoke, but I found out the time it is to smoke was perfect. By the time he'd finished smoking his cigarette, he started up his motorbike, caught up with the cows again, stopped. It took him 3 smokes to bring his cows 1 kilometre. So my formula for cows is, stop the motorbike, don't keep beeping and moving, and his cows just walk so gently. So
you've come up with some great theories, some formulas and theories there. Well, now the cows are starting to move out and
so
heading back.
Yeah. We could go and talk to the farmer down there now, because those others coming in, we'll keep away from them because they just stop and look at us. They're not afraid of us, but they look. But isn't it interesting to look here? The front cows, I'm just estimating, there's probably 50 cows right at the front of the yard, and then the cows had stopped for a while. The others are coming in now, and what I like about this place, the cows are not afraid here. They're all coming to the front. Many herds, they stop all over there, and the front's the empty bit.
Why are they afraid?
That's the question. Why are they afraid? It's because of something going on in the shed. And it can be lots of different things. Some farms, it can be slippery concrete, right where they're standing ready to go onto the cow shed there. It wasn't slippery when they started, but because of the pressure there, it becomes slippery. And so many farms now are putting rubber at that entrance, so the cows like to come and stand on the rubber. Not the whole yard, but the front quarter or something. The other thing is, depending who's milking, I sometimes come to a farm like today, and it's perfect. What we're watching is just beautiful today. Just content, happy cows, no heads up apart from the ones wanting to look at us. And other farms I come to, and the cows are afraid. They don't want to go onto the rotary.
And there's someone new in there.
There's someone new or the other person. Sometimes you've got a team of 3, and they
They just don't hit it off with that other person.
Yeah, so I had a farm where there was a husband and a wife and 2 other workers, and it was beautiful cow flow. It was an awesome herringbone cow shed. This is a rotary here today, but it was a herringbone, and the one young lady left, and they got another worker, and on this farm, all of them used to say, come on girls, and talk to their cows like that. This new guy, that is wimpy. I'm not going to sit here and say, come on girls. He refused to do it. If he tried to milk at the beginning of the herringbone, where the cows would come in, the cows wouldn't come in. They didn't do anything bad, the cows, they just wouldn't come in with him. Unless he was right up the front of the herringbone, they couldn't get cows in.
So I'm not going near that guy.
Because he'd learned, he didn't like to do this. Come on, girls, go. He said, come on, yeah, up. And he used to just tap the pipe work, not hurting the cows, but bang, bang, bang. And the cows didn't like it. So it's as subtle as that.
Some farmers are moving into virtual fencing using collars.
Yeah.
Cows are encouraged into the milking shed via vibration and a pulse on the collar without anyone walking behind them. How might that affect lameness, if any?
Positively. I'm not saying everything's positive about halters or different systems, I'm just saying it's just the little research I've done on just a couple of farms. I haven't done much because we don't have many in Taranaki, but one of my farmers has. He had, by Christmas time, had only 3 lame cows because there was no pressure coming into the yard. Okay, I mean, somehow that, realising there's a bit of electricity, must make them want to get out the paddock. But on the track itself, there was no pressure, totally voluntary, and there was no pressure in the yard. And he had 3 lame cows by Christmas only, which is nothing. So a lot of time pressure is from people or a dog. And it's not always a dog. I've seen dogs that are miles better than people. I remember one dog watching, I thought, I bet this guy's lameness is from his dog because he always sent his dog out to get the cows. And this dog walked behind the cows. It piddled on a fence post here and a fence post there, walked up the cows. Some cows came back and sniffed it and they licked each other's nose. And so some dogs can be no problem at all. Others can be a problem, or people same. So it's never a people, it's a type of people. It's never a dog, it's a type of dog. And so here's our farmer coming on a motorbike now. No heads up at the back. They're just going at the same speed as they were going before.
He's quite close behind them,
I would have
isn't
liked
he?
him to be much further behind. Interesting. But I think he's only just come up and followed the last ones. But yeah, definitely I'd say to him, drop back another 5 or 10 metres. Yeah. Pick that up a bit.
In the yard, an automatic gate keeps the cows moving towards the shed.
So, here it comes. Oh, probably about only less than a metre it moved. And it makes a noise, so the cows are aware of it, but it's not hurting them. And so design, you asked a question about design of shed, is so important. I was at one place the other day where when they go onto the rotary, 2 cows can fit in at the beginning, and by about halfway down the entrance, that narrower part, still 1.5 cows could fit in, and they were jamming. So we made them narrow the whole thing out so that the cows had to make the decision out in the yard here who's going to go next. And this went 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, and the cow flow is no problem. But you get 2 next to each other, the bossy one is going to push the other one. What happens to the feet? Slip and injury to the sole.
They do have their own order, don't they, cows?
That's the thing research earlier on was wonderful, how I hoped that cows would come into the yard in one order and go out in the same order. Then I wouldn't have to stand in the rain and look at their cow numbers. So I did some study with 6 herds, I think it was, and guess what? Cows come to the yard in fairly well the same order every day, front, middle or back. Not exactly the same cow, but front, middle or back. When they go through the shed, whether it's a herringbone or a rotary, they change order. When I told my farmers that, I said, obviously you're a vet, you don't know about cows. We know that our last cow's always in the second row. They knew their cows, And so I said, well, that's why you mustn't have them tight in the yard. Otherwise they can't swap from the arriving order to a milking order. And I discovered that was the other problem with farms. They knew it in their head, but they didn't think of, when they put the backing gate hard against them, they were stopping them able to swap places. So there's amazing things going on in front of our eyes right now that it doesn't look like anything's moving. But you watch, look right up the front, there's a cow come from the right, moved through the cows, right across, right through all those cows, and now she's going on to the rotary cow shed. So
she is.
She knew, yeah. She knew that at what time? At 10 minutes to 3, I'm going to go milking.
Would she be a matriarch? Would she be one of the bossy ones?
No, not necessarily. It's just the bossy one's going to stand back and not go on. I had one farmer, exactly that. All the cows at the front, standing on the left-hand side as I'm looking at these cows, probably 10 or 15 cows stood there the whole milking. And he was so frustrated with what he called poor cow flow, he went out and made those 15 go on, thinking that'll speed up. It didn't, made it worse. And what I discovered was certain cows arrive right at the beginning, stand on the left, near the entrance, and they stand there the whole milking. But leave them there, let the others come past. And then I went to one farm, I took a video of the whole milking. It was in England, this place, a rotary cow shed, one cow going on, one. And there was a big white cow. The farmer said, I've got to get rid of that girl. She's a pain in the neck. In my video, she stands on the right, for example, at the beginning, and all the cows are going in on the left. Then she moves over to the left, and the cows on the right go in. And then she moves back in the middle, and some front ones go. She stood there for 22 and a half minutes, and then decided it's time for me to go on. I reckon she was helping cow flow because the farmer didn't get impatient, rather than he would like to get her on and get her out the way. And she would have stuffed up what the cows know every day.
She was just sorting it out for him.
She was sorting it out,
That's what we women do.
That's right. And what happens when you get 500 women together? That's what the farmer thinks. See, look, that bossy woman there. No, I'm joking. But you've got to just let them do their own thing, and it's amazing.
Well, it is amazing. Neil Chesterton and some cows on Bryce Hunger's farm near Inglewood. Neil gives seminars and advice to dairy farmers around the world on how to keep their cows from going lame. Now we have a competition for you. Sandra Chesterton has written a book about her husband called Lame Stories from the Vet from Inglewood, and we have a copy to give away. Just email us with the answer to this question. What type of milking shed does Bryce have? Our email address is country@rnz.co.nz. That email address again is country@rnz.co.nz. And the question, what type of milking shed does Bryce have?